My daddy used to say sunshine, it's better than sunshine, it's better than moonshine, damn sure better than the rain. People don't mind, we all feel this way sometimes. Got to let your soul shine, shine, break a day. I grew up thinking I got it made, gonna make it on my own. Life can take the strongest man, make me feel so.
Okay, I think that's my cue. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to you, wherever you are tuning in from. And thank you for taking some time out of your day to be joining us for a conversation about the stories of change. My name is Valeria Duflot, and it's my pleasure to be your host for what promises to be an insightful session, a crazy one, I hope, just to reference a conversation we were having just before we opened the room. As we let more people into this room, let me just invite you, like you just saw on the slide, to share in the chat who you are, where are you, is it where you are tuning in from? And it would be lovely if you can switch your camera on so we are able to see each other, so we can all feel part of this community. Today is really the opportunity to hear from three amazing people who are accomplished social entrepreneurs and who have chosen to tell their stories through books. You will find all the information you need to get your hands on their work in the chat and in the follow-up emails that will be sent to you after this meeting. Before we invite them to share their story, I thought that would be good if we perhaps get started with a bit of context about storytelling. So, as we all know in this room, throughout human history, storytelling has been a cornerstone of our existence. Even before language, humans told stories through cave painting, gestures, and rituals, sharing knowledge, emotions, and lessons about survival. These pre-verbal stories were humanity's earliest ways of making sense of the world and passing down wisdom. Later, oral traditions like the epic tales of the Iliad, of the Mahabharata, as well as folk tales carried across generations, continue this legacy, shaping how we connect, understand, and inspire one another. Cognitive scientists and psychologists argue that storytelling is intrinsic to human cognition and social connection. It helps us understand complex ideas, build empathy, and imagine alternative realities, qualities that differentiate humans from other species. Stories are therefore what makes us human. They allow us to see the world through others' eyes, build empathy, and imagine futures that we are yet to create. Stories have sparked revolution and social movements, from the Enlightenment ideas spread by the Federalist Papers to the global resonance of Mandela's long walk to freedom. Amongst the many ways we tell stories, books stand out as one of humanity's most transformative technologies. The ability to store, replicate, and disseminate ideas on a large scale revolutionized human society. From the first manuscripts to the invention of the printing press, which democratized access to ideas and drove scientific progress, social and scientific progress, books have enabled movements, preserved cultures, and empowered individuals by amplifying voices and connecting communities across time and space. In the realm of social entrepreneurships, books are more than just a medium. They are a powerful tools for change. They serve as blueprints for innovation, resilience, and hope, as seen in the work of visionaries like Mohammed Yunus or Jacqueline Novogratz, whose stories continue to inspire global action. And today I'm pleased to be joined by more of those visionaries, three inspiring and accomplished social entrepreneurs. Together, we'll explore their journeys, the story that they have chosen to tell, and the hopes that they hold for these stories captured in their books will inspire others and creating lasting impact. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome to the room Vera Cordeiro, author of The Power of Beginning, Mel Young, author of The Home Game, The True Story of the Homeless World Cup, and Jack Sim, author of The Gumption of Mr. Toilet. We'll be spending the next few minutes successively diving into each of our speakers' individual stories before coming together for a panel discussion. So I hope you're sitting comfortably, that you have a nice drink with you, because I know these people and you won't want to be moving from your seats. So please get comfortable and you're in for a very inspiring and thought-provoking journey. So let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker, Vera Cordeiro. Vera, there you go. Hi. So welcome, Vera. So let me give you a biography and then we'll jump into the conversation. So for the people who do not know Vera, Vera is a Brazilian social entrepreneur. She's the founder of the Data Institute, which she founded in 1991, which is a social organization that uses a pioneering methodology to promote human development and well-being of families in situations of social vulnerability. It has received a number of accolades, including be recognized as the 21st best in the world and the best social organization in Latin America in 2019 by the Swiss NGO Advisors, based on criteria of impact, innovation, and sustainability. Vera is also an Ashoka Fellow, a leader of Avina, a social entrepreneur, recognized by the Schwab Foundation and the School Foundation. She's a member of the Ashoka World Council and an honorary member of the Academy of Medicine of Rio de Janeiro. Welcome, Vera. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Valeria, thank you so much for your words. Thank you, all of you, my colleagues, Mel and Jack. I'm very happy to share with all of you the history of the book that I wrote during 5 years, that called The Power of Beginning, you know. And I think that I need to write this book. I felt in my heart that I need to write the story of more than 3 decades of Data Institute, as well as my personal journey. So buy the book, because there's so many funny things from my family, you know, the families that I face, not only to build Data Institute, but, you know, having to handle the family, my 2 daughters, etc. For the senior social entrepreneurs, I think they will see some similarity with my history. And for the young social entrepreneurs, I hope it inspired them not to stop, because there is a power. The name of the book, The Power of Beginning, and you begin far, although there is a lot of challenge and opportunity. I will talk a little bit about those challenges and opportunities that we face at Data. So I am a physician, and I worked, I don't know the chart where it is. I'm a physician, and I worked during 20 years in a public hospital in Brazil called Hospital da Lagoa. And let me show the chart. So I wrote the part. So this is the hospital where I worked during 20 years. And when I work in the hospital, especially with children in pediatric service, I understood what we did as doctors, nurses, social workers was not enough, you know, because many times the vulnerable families, the poor families, all over the world, it's not a Brazilian problem, it's all over the world. The real cause of the disease is poverty. There is a vicious cycle. I saw when I worked there was a vicious cycle, extreme poverty, disease. Disease is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the disease, it was rain inside the house, there is a jobless father, there is domestic violence, so there is rehospitalization, and finally death. So I have to go beyond the hospital walls to create something different, totally different, you know, from this vicious cycle. For, you know, I have no idea what I have to create. We start in a stable where the horses used to be, in a beautiful park in Rio, and in a very humble headquarters, stable, because it was strategically very important to be near the hospital. So during the morning, I work in the hospital treating the patient. In the afternoon, when they were ready to go out of the hospital, I send them to the stable, our humble headquarters, and a group of volunteers listen to them. And at that time, I didn't know, but now I understand we are creating a system change of the health paradigm, because traditional medical care all over the world doesn't take into account the life of the people they are treating. You know, the social determinants of health, where they live, how is their marriage, how is their income generation. So I founded DARA in 1991. And as poverty is a multi-dimensional problem, there is a psychological dimension of poverty, there is a housing dimension of poverty. We started working in 5 areas: health itself, education, housing, income generation, and human rights, all together. And we start what we call the family action plan. That is our social methodology. Yunus used to say, DARA methodology is a very important methodology to include the poor among the poor. So
that's really it's amazing. So it's really what is unique about your organization, right? To be acknowledging and making the space for the social determinant of health, right? To be like, health is a result of the social condition in which you are living. Through your book, Vera, what was the most important message you wanted to convey? Why is it that you wanted to bring that message to the world?
Can you explain me again, Valeria, speaking slowly? What is your question?
Yes, of course. My question is, like, what was the key message that you wanted to convey through your book, and why did you choose to share this message? What was it important for you to bring it through a book?
My main message is that if you really visualize that it's possible to do in a different way, all kind of challenge will come to you to stop you, because when you are out of the status quo, as Bill Drayton say, a huge force, a huge energy came to stop you. But if you have resilience, you have to continue working, because then opportunity will come. That's my main message.
So really that message of not stopping, get started and do not give up. Keep on keep on
continuous working, because challenge will come. And one challenge that I want to share with you, because we were expelled from the park, and then I have been sued, and I have to go to the president of the country, the former president, Fernando Henrique Cardoso, in order to sign a decree for us to stay in the park. And then the first lady comes and she inaugurates a new headquarters in the same park, a beautiful pink house where we stayed for 20 years. And most important was that we need to prove that the family action plan, our social methodology, that changed the life, that more than 100,000 people in Brazil become public policy, but also we expand to Baltimore in the United States, and also to Mozambique in Africa. And as Valeria, I gave 54 lectures in 16 countries. All the social entrepreneurs, they learned from us. They took the DNA of our social methodology. And now, if you want to know where is the family action plan, it's in 4 continents for the benefit of millions of people. They call the family action plan the client-centered methodology. And another very important thing that I would love to share with you, because it was a milestone, that was one of the, to be expelled from the park. Imagine in the summertime in Rio, it's so hot. We have to treat 500 families in containers and trainers, and where before being, the president signed the decree. So, but one very good milestone that I want to share with you all, is the Georgetown research. Georgetown, this opportunity that came to us, made the research during 3 years. And what they measure the family when they get out of Dara, and 3 to 5 years later, what happened with the same family that they choose in a random way. In terms of income generation, their income double. In terms of days of rehospitalization, it falls down in 86%. So we prove the long-term impact in their life. When people talk about sustainability, we know, I cannot share now, but in terms of housing, only 28% of the family have their own house.
Yeah, pretty spectacular. And those graphics are like,
have their own house.
Yeah, those graphics are really incredible. They really show the impact of your work and the impact, the ripple effect of it, right? They tell these powerful stories, right? Of like this intervention that could be starting into a stable is actually like transforming the fabric of society. And that's what's led it to be brought to 4 continents in total. Amazing. Really showing the importance of how telling stories, sharing those wisdom is key, right? Because what you started, as you said very simply, has made changes for how many people? How many millions of people? Do you have an idea of that?
In Brazil, directly, 100,000 people. And then we became public policy in 2 major cities in Brazil. But it spread in many places in Brazil. But through other social entrepreneurs who learned from us, we were able to took the methodology, they implemented in 4 continents for the benefit. I don't have the number, exactly number, but thousands of people, because I know where they are. Only in South Africa, there is more than 100 institutions using the client-centered methodology based in the Family Action Plan.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Vera. It really shows the power, right, of sharing those stories so that others can take them and run with it. We're going to go now to Mel Young, and we're going to speak more with Vera as we continue. Hi, Mel.
Hi.
So Mel, who is joining us from Scotland today, and you're going to see back on your screen in a minute, I hope, is the president of the Homeless World Cup, which he co-founded in 2003, and previously a chair of Sports Scotland. He's also a co-founder of the Elders Council for Social Entrepreneurs that you can find at the link that I'm sure is going to be shared in the chat. And Mel is also someone who has received a number of accolades. He's also a Schwab Fellow, a Senior Ashoka Fellow, a founder of Catalyst 2030, and is a lover of sports who runs every day and a firm believer in the power of sports to create positive change. Mel, welcome to this conversation. So like we just did with Vera, Mel, would you be happy to share with us the story that you wanted to bring to the world with your book and the key message that you hoped that you could convey through that medium?
Absolutely, I will do that. And thank you for your introduction, Valeria. And it's always inspiring to listen to Vera. I can listen to her all day. Her impact has been incredible. So the story I wanted to tell was basically the story of the Homeless World Cup. The Homeless World Cup, as you say, started in 2003. We work in 70 countries around the world. Our partners in those countries work with homeless people. We get them playing football, or sometimes in some countries it's described as soccer. We call it football. It's a very easy language. Everybody understands it. We get people involved who are very good at it or no good at it. It doesn't actually matter. And by getting them involved, we create pathways out of the situation of homelessness. And once a year, we have an annual tournament, which is hosted around the world. Indeed, we've been in Rio. This year, we were in Seoul in South Korea. Last year, we were in Sacramento. And we've been all over the world with it. And what we're concerned about is our impact of that. And we've worked with 1.3 million homeless people since we started using football and got them off the streets. And now they've got into jobs and houses, come off drugs and alcohol, etc. So we are able to demonstrate absolutely the power of football and the story around social entrepreneurship. So the reason really why I wanted to share that story, and you know, I can do the, like all of us, the 40 or 50-minute presentation on that. But I wanted to share it because I think, first of all, sometimes social entrepreneurs, we aren't so good at telling our stories, because actually we're not like that. We are kind of quite shy people, really, actually, and we are very focused on our outcomes. You know, I don't think there should be any homelessness in the world, for example, and that's my entire focus. And why should I shout about that? Why should I shout about the success that we've had? And really the answer is because we should, because we need to inspire other people. We want to bring people to hear our stories because they are impactful. We want people to join our movement. As Vera said, we want to kind of take our movement to scale because we know it's impactful. And that's the reason why, you know, we wrote the book. And I would say to people, you know, it's not easy to write a book. I mean, some people are natural authors and can just go and write a book. It's not an easy thing to do. And I co-wrote it. I wrote it with Peter Barr, who was one of our trustees on our board. And I think we helped each other make the book happen. But I think it's worth the effort and the time to spend on it, because people have come back to me and have seen the book. And of course, in our case, Netflix have made a movie, so that's not a documentary, a movie, which is like being a smash hit all over the world. I mean, millions of people have watched it already.
Yeah, it was in the top 10 trending and all.
Yeah, in 187 countries. And all that illustrates to me, again, is this power of storytelling. And maybe in the discussion we'll have later, I just don't think that social entrepreneurs or our sector do that enough. We're not good at it, and yet we have absolutely brilliant stories to tell. Yeah. I mean, some of the people I've met over the years and the work they do, it's incredible, but nobody knows about it. And I think it is this discussion, I think, that we're having here is really, really important. And in this day and age where there's so much we have to consume, so much information we need to consume, so many PowerPoints we have, so many webinars we listen to. Actually, what gets through to us is actually stories. So in our book, the Home Game, for example, we're telling the story of the Homeless World Cup, as I've said, but we're also telling the story of the players, the people who were homeless, and what their stories are, how they've gone from a position of hopelessness and then used the football and the game to change their lives. And actually, that's the story that people are really interested in. People want to hear that story because it's moving, because it's a story about somebody who's been in a difficult position, who's now in a good position. And that inspires people, and they keep coming back for more. So we will tell these stories because we're in a lucky position. We have hundreds of them, if not thousands of them, to tell globally, because it's the same issue globally. And for us, that's so important in terms of getting that message across, is telling the right stories. So it's about understanding the way the world is. The way the world now wants 30 seconds only maximum in terms of the stories. So we have to be aware of that. But at the same time, behind everything we do is a huge amount of hard work, a huge amount of organization, a huge issue that's going on. We need to tell that story as well in more detail to the right audiences. But in the general public, to the general place of the world, to me, storytelling is absolutely key. And I don't think we do enough of it. So in the book Home Game, that's what we're doing. We're telling our story plus the story of the players in a way which we hope is very palatable and is proven to be successful. And the movie's certainly been like that. And the movie, it's so, how do I put this? For us, this whole issue of homelessness is very, very serious. And the situations people are in are horrific. But within the movies and in the stories, we're able to create situations where we can laugh, where we have fun, where there's some very, very funny stories that we can tell and share. Because that, whatever is going on in your life, you can have that part where you can laugh at yourself or laugh with other people. And we want to share those moments because that makes it, in our opinion, more real. And then, of course, I think in our case, we're lucky in a sense because when we started, we used football deliberately because we wanted to connect with our people in a way which was very easy to connect. So you don't have to talk. You just say, here's a ball, everybody. You want to kick it? And it's the same all over the world, so we connect it. And people in the world these days, they love football. I mean, it's just a fact. And so we're lucky in the sense that we're able to tell the stories through the ball. Here's a ball. You want to hear a story? Here's another story. And so we're into a consumer end of the market, if you like, which is waiting for the stories. And so we have the stories, we tell the stories, and it works. And so I think I will conclude by finishing that we've had the success. We will do more of this. But I will be saying to everybody in our sector, hey, do more, tell stories. We used to be really shy. I'm actually really shy, actually. Don't be shy about this. We need to get a loud hailer and say, hey, we have got a story to tell, you should come and listen. And when you do that, in our experience, people come and listen.
Thank you so much for sharing that very powerful story and very important reminder, I think, that this imposter syndrome that we somehow have of this, like, okay, focus on the work rather than like saying, oh, this is what we're doing because we feel like we did that. It's nothing. What is it that have changed? But that is true. Telling these stories of resilience, like to echo what Vera was saying, right? Yours and that of the community, those stories are hope. And perhaps the most important thing that we can do, because we can make people feel that, yes, right, there is another way forward. There is change possible. There is connection possible, whether through a ball or pages or a movie. Great timing. Wonderful. So great. Could always speak all day with you, and we're going to continue after. But now we're going to turn to Jack to hear a bit about Mr. Toilet's story and why you wanted to write the Gumption of Mr. Toilet, Jack. So same questions to Mel, right? What was the most important message that you wanted to share through the book? And why was it important for you to communicate that message to the world?
Thank you very much. I'm Jack Sim. I'm the founder of the World Toilet Organization.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was so excited I got into the conversation. Sorry. Yes, I mean, I have the privilege to know Jack, but yes, I needed to introduce you all of you. I'm sorry, Jack. So Jack is globally known as Mr. Toilets. He's a serial entrepreneur with 16 businesses behind him and who's turned serial social entrepreneur who has created 8 social businesses. He founded the Restroom Association of Singapore in 1998 and the World Toilet Organization, WTO, in 2001. He's created the UN World Toilet Day, which is on November 19th, and there was a recent address of this UN Secretary General on that day a few days ago. You should check that out. Jack is also a teacher at Singularity University, an adjunct associate professor of NUS and Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. Now we can continue with the conversation. I'm very sorry, Jack. I got excited.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. So I was a businessman from the age 24 to 40. I made some money. And then I started to ask myself, when do people die? And people die around 80 to 85, very common. So I budget myself to die at 80 because the last few years is very frail and sick. And I have already consumed 40 years of my life, so I have 14,600 days. And so I want to make sure that I use this time as much as possible. And so I found that 40% of the world people don't have a toilet, and I became Mr. Toilet. And in the last 27 years, I have been working for free, helping to change the whole world to get toilets, because people didn't even know about the problem in not having toilet, and 2 million people dying of diarrhea every year. So I put toilet on center stage with media storytelling. And each year we reach out to about between 2 to 3 billion audience on a zero budget. So I wrote this book for a different reason. The world needs to learn how to be good human being, because the AI is taking over all the calculation and all the algorithm things that are robotic, they know. So if we were to teach in school, we have to teach curiosity, courage, compassion, commitment, collaboration, communication, uh, community, and calmness. We have to teach our students to be a better human being. So I'm hoping to use this story of how I changed the world on one subject, sanitation, by teaching them how to be good human beings. And because the whole process is illustrated with real life story, but the human values is what I want to impart. And one of the things is, for example, how to do business, how to make money, how to then make money and help people, how to convert poverty into prosperity. So I grew up in Singapore when we were so poor, we don't have clothes, we don't have enough money to pay the rent. We're a third world country. And in 25 years, we became a first world country because of good government policy, because of skills training. And so we want to do the same thing, for example, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, to turn their cocoa into chocolate. Why must they sell raw material? We want to go to India to turn their raw spice into recipe with celebrity cooks and get the farmer the right prices. We don't want the coffee farmer in East Timor to sell their coffee and have 5 cents in a cup of Starbucks coffee that is $6. $5.95 go to Starbucks. That's not fair distribution. So I think that poverty can end with fair distribution of wealth, fair distribution of opportunity, and to train the poor to move up the value chain and process their product and become more entrepreneurial. So what I want to do is beyond sanitation, but also to end global poverty. And you can only do that through influencing government policy, through storytelling on the media to drive demand. So the politician will prioritize the agenda that I drive because they want to use it to win election. And when we start incentivize everybody, then the market become efficient. So one of the lessons to teach is not to be a hero, to make other people hero. And if everybody benefit by joining in, they will take action and they will go and change the world, just like Singapore turned from third world to first world in 25 years. We also saw that China copied the Singapore model and got 800 million people out of poverty. That is amazing, market-based solution. Similarly, Switzerland, long time ago, 150 years ago, also was a very poor country, and they used business model to get out of poverty. So by learning how to do business, how to communicate, all the soft skills, we can then harness the AI and use the AI as a tool to get a good future for our next generation. If we still continue to push our children to get very good grades, then we will destroy them because we have to teach them how to be good human beings. So I think that this is the main message I want to write about the book, to teach people character building and how to give love and how not to waste their life, and especially how not to be egoistic, because a lot of people thought that they are the only one who can save the world. That is very limited. You have to make everybody. And so I've got a copy of this book here, and you can go get it in Penguin. It's a lot of pages. But each lesson, 88 lessons, is only, each lesson is only 3 to 4 pages. So it's
Oh.
very, very easy to read, and every lesson have a summary. So even if you learn 5 or 6 lessons and master it, your life will change. You will become able to get out of poverty. So the way I look at the development sector is very inefficient because it keeps on relying on donation, and donation is disappearing. This foreign aid is all disappearing. So you have to learn to use market-based solution, help yourself. And if anybody want to learn how to do this, read this book or come and talk to me. I can give you free mentorship. I have been working in the last 27 years for free of charge. I have never drawn a salary for 27 years because I think that the more you can share with everybody, the faster the world will get out of poverty.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very much.
Jack. Thank you so much. Just very briefly, because I know both Mel and you, you're both incredible men who I really appreciate the both of you, but you're very different personalities, right? And so Mel was just mentioning the not feeling naturally like writing the book that many of us may have this like challenge. You've made your career about like telling stories and like sharing. So how was, like very briefly, how was it for you to write the book? Like, did you also have that friction, or did you like just go into it, or is that page of your journals? Like, how did you go about it? Very briefly.
I will teach you a trick how to write a book. If you have written a lot of your thoughts on Facebook or LinkedIn, you just go and collect them back because it's written by you. And then you give it to the editor, and the editor will write it into a nice flow. Then after that, you start writing the book. It takes me 6 months to write the book and 3 months to edit it. But the most important thing when you want to write a book is to get a good distributor, because the publisher can distribute your book to reach out to a lot of people. Then that is a good publisher. Do not just publish a book. Nobody's going to read it because they don't know where to buy it. So if you can get it on Kindle, on Penguin, on Amazon, and a lot of publicity. So the publisher is now bringing me to a lot of this book festival, like in Jaipur. 2 million people are going to the book festival, and I speak it 3 times there, so to 2 million people. So you can sell like 50,000, 100,000 copies.
Wow, thank you so much. So I think very interesting to hear that there's no one necessarily way to approach things, to do things, that they can be very different, right? Like this recycling of content, creating new content, and really, really interesting. And thanks for the points also about like distribution, because we want those stories to reach as many people as possible. So we're all going to come together now to dive into like our like panel conversation. There you go, we're all here. Hi. So thank you so much for sharing your story. So I think the most important thing that we're discussing here, and that you've been reflecting already through your conversation, is the importance of storytelling to drive social change, right? So can we have a reflection around that? Why do you think that storytelling, writing, is such an important tool to drive social change? Vera, I'm going to turn to you again first. Like, what is your opinion? What would you like to share about that?
I think storytelling is very effective because people, our lives can be different. We are different people, we have different nationalities, but we have the same heart. And I love when Dalai Lama says, if I was a very egoistic person, I will be altruistic. Because the best way to have happiness is to go to serve other people, you know. I think we have a soul and we have an ego. The real essence of all of us is our soul. Our ego, our personality, our body will die. But I think our soul is eternal. So when we talk about storytelling, you talk about other people. You go out of your ego and you understand deeply the other person that has a soul like you.
So you feel it's an instrument to connect at a deeper level to tell stories. Beautiful. Mel, how would you react to what like you just heard?
Yeah, well, I mean, I completely agree with you. Absolutely agree. It's so interesting for me just to, you know, when I'm like all of us, I think I'm asked to do quite a lot of talks, and then the people say, right, have you got a PowerPoint? And I would say, no, actually, I don't have a PowerPoint. But I'll just tell you some stories, okay? And they get a bit worried, you know, that, oh no, what's all this? I mean, this guy's going to tell stories and there's no PowerPoint. And they say, you sure you don't have a PowerPoint? I'm not bringing a PowerPoint. I'm going to tell you a story, okay? And it always works for me. It always works, like Vera says, because people relate to the stories. As children, we like stories, you know, mothers and fathers were reading us stories, and then us reading our first books, we understood that. Whether they were complete fantasy or not, we engaged with that. That's how we learned at a very, very young age. And then, so now I'm telling stories about people that, you know, homeless people who often are derided in society. And I'm telling them stories that are uplifting and positive, and about how they got themselves with our help out of poverty, out of their situation. And it's inspiring. And anytime I do that, I can see the audience, everybody is listening. Everybody is listening and is engaged. And it's because, you know, they feel part of that as well. They can identify very, very closely with it. And I say it's the same. Sometimes I you know, do favors for people. I go to a primary school, a junior school, and speak to the children, and they will absolutely be the same. And then I'll go to some professors and talk to them, and I do the same, tell stories all the time. So I think it's a way of making connection. And then obviously you're making the point about, like, in terms of our organization, what it is about our supervision, which is to end homelessness forever, to put ourselves out of business if you want. You can talk about that, but it's always framed around the stories. I always do it. That's why we wrote the book. That's why we do the movie. That's why we use the football as a mechanism for connecting. So I'm maybe not articulating it so well, but Vera put it very well. I'm into that. It's a connection of the soul in some way.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, like connecting to people, any kind of people, and staying, right? Is it that this is something that stays, not like the data you would see on a slideshow and something you've forgotten after half an hour. You've really actually impacted someone who's living with somehow the story as part of their own story, right? They can bring it to others and engage others.
Exactly.
Jack, what's your take on this, on the importance of storytelling for social change? I mean, you shared a little bit, but would you like to add more to what you said?
So basically, I think that when people read, they want to figure out what can they use, how can they take action, what is the lessons that they learn that is new. And so I try to focus it on the how-to, and the book give a lot of how-to and focus on creating actual impact. That means something that they can do. For example, when I saw human trafficking coming to Singapore for construction worker, how will change the system, change the law, and then bypass the mafia. And the mafia lost a lot of money because now we changed the law. Or how to get, when Brazil don't have money for investing in their sewage treatment plant, how to change the law in Brazil. I'm a Singaporean and I go to Brazil and change the law, and I convinced the Senate to pass a bill to privatize the sewage treatment plant. And in the last 4 years, we raised 14 billion US$, which is profitable for them to invest for sewer connection for all the favelas people, millions of them. And over the last 27 years, we have created toilets for 2.5 billion people without building it. We are creating the policy change for the government, for the market. And I think that these are the lessons. Each one of the 88 lessons is how to think without begging for money. Because if you go out to do fundraising, it's so hard. It's so hard, you know. You keep on getting rejected and you get very demoralized. But if you go by a business model, then it's a logical thing because people can get a return from it. So all the lessons is coming from my first half of my life running 16 companies. And after I retire, I do social work in also the same way in business model.
Thank you, Jack. So like stories as a tool also to empower, right? Because we were mentioning the inspiration, connection power of stories, but also the tool that they have, right? The books, sorry, to like bring down like methodologies, like proven things like to others, right? So we are just by interacting with the book able to take
they don't need to use the same lesson for toilet. They can use the same lesson for solar energy or same lesson for nutrition or even to improve the crops like soya or okra or coffee or cacao, cassava, everything. So actually the lesson learned from the toilet transformation can be used for every sector, including education, healthcare, everything.
Yeah, I think it's something that comes from everything that the three of you are saying here, is that in the work that we're doing, I wanted to build a better life for people on the planet. Stories are an incredible instrument for scale, right? They allow us to scale at a scale that is not possible if we were doing things ourselves, right? We can like write a book and let the story live in the world and see an impact that is decoupled from the resources that we use, right? And see something that goes bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So really as a tool for us to make an indirect change that can change culture, that can change policy, that can change the frameworks in which society is defined. So that's one of the things that I hear from this conversation, but I'm sure that having heard each other's stories right now, knowing them also, and knowing a number of other social entrepreneurs, you've been able to identify the commonalities, perhaps in the different chapters that we all go through as change makers. Like, what do you think are those different moments, the different chapters of the life of a social entrepreneur from when we get started, as you mentioned, Vera, and that we don't stop to eventually make an incredible impact that the one that all of you have been making in that room? What would you say are the things that we all go through? And I'm going to switch it a bit and go back to Mel to get us started with that question.
So what just to be clear, what you're asking is about how we're scaling in terms of what we're doing.
Just you can speak of scaling or like just journey in general of a social entrepreneur, the different chapters, the different parts that you see like commonalities.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of commonality between us, and that's why, you know, being part of Catalyst and being part of Schwab and Ashoka and so on is so important, getting to know people and understanding each other. But it's interesting because I think we all have very, very similar DNA. So we're very determined. We don't give up. We are absolutely driven by our purpose, our impact. And because of that, we get ourselves sometimes into difficult situations, impossible situations. So for us, for example, the Homeless World Cup, during the pandemic was incredibly difficult for us as an organization because we had to stop doing our events. We had to stop operating. And, you know, sponsors didn't want to be big partner of us. But obviously, I mean, I wasn't being critical of them at all. And so it's very difficult. But and other people might have given up, but we didn't give up. We just kind of continued on under very difficult circumstances, like climbing up the side of a sheer cliff, you know, no problem. We climb in the mountains, no problem. And these are similarities. So when you look at us as when our younger selves, when we were starting up and we were determined and we were a little naive in terms of some of the work we were going to do, we were in the first flush of youth, if you like, and towards upward. But then you kind of understand you just don't keep going like that. Life is not like that. It goes like this. Okay. So we learn to be resilient. We learn to support each other. We learn to connect with each other. And that's my view. And I think both Jack and Vera share this. You know, my view is you learn something every day. You learn something from this discussion. I'm open all the time to listening and learning. And that's a similarity. And that's how we begin to scale. So, you know, through Catalyst, over the past few years, we've talked much more than we did compared with 10 years ago about system change. This is about system change. So if I listen to Vera there, she's talking about having health. That diagram she showed, health at the center of everything. And for us, actually working in the homeless field, health is there all the time. Mental health, physical health, hospitalization, etc. It's the same thing. So you can create connections and learnings and move forward. And I think it's the method in which we connect is about storytelling. So it's interesting when the social entrepreneurs meet together, the energy levels go up, but we're not, as I say, doing PowerPoints. We're sharing stories with each other about things that have happened to us, good or bad, how we've learned, how we've moved on, and how we've built our resilience. And I think that that's an incredible part of this movement, and such an important part of this movement if we want to create the change that we all desire in the world.
Thank you so much, Mel. Beautiful. Like Jack, what would you say are the common threads between like the people in this room in general? Like, what are the different part of the stories of a social change maker?
I think a few takeaway is that don't become an adult. Try to be a child. And if you are a child, you always think of very fresh ideas, and you're always curious, always learning. If you're an adult, you become a little bit dinosaur and you cannot learn. Or you're always worried about what people think about you, and you're trying to look good and trying to tell a little bit of a white lies just to protect yourself. But if you're a child, you just say whatever is true. Then the other thing is that the older you are, the more energy you should have, because you have accumulated a lot of wisdom throughout the years, and it's such a waste not to use it. So don't retire. Just go and love people, because if you go and help people, your consciousness widen. And if you think about yourself, your consciousness narrow, and you become miserable every time you think about yourself. So forget about yourself, think about the other people. And the more you love people, the happier and more energy you have. So just try it, and you will find that the older you are, the more energy you have.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You are?
I'm 67. I'm 67.
Yeah,
no problem.
Can pitch the Elder Council here for an amazing group of people who are feeling, I think, the same. No, it's very beautiful what you're sharing, and I think it probably deeply resonates with everyone in the room. But it reminds me of what you were mentioning about the spiritual part, almost that storytelling allows, right? Vera, earlier when you were mentioning allows to connect with our soul. Would you like to add something, like in the chapters that you see are the one that we share, or do you think that is being covered by?
I give you an example.
Very briefly, Jack, because I wanted to ask Vera.
Oh, you're now asking Vera, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Valeria, please say it in English with other words. What do you want from me to say?
Can you please share what you think are the key moments, the key things that you've seen happen to everybody in the community of social entrepreneurs, you know, the different chapters of a career? So you were speaking about the getting starting, the being resilient. Is there something you'd like to add?
Yes, I would like to add what Jack said. I remember once I was invited to go to Switzerland to be part of a panel that the main title of the panel was "Why Your Family Thinks You Are Mad." Why your family thinks you are totally mad. And, you know, all of us in that panel do have the same sensation because, as I told in the beginning of my speech, we are going out of the status quo. So people think you are totally mad. No, but this madness, as Jack used to say, is to be a child, is to be curious, is to like people. And I love a statement that Margaret Mead, the American famous anthropologist, says, never doubt a very committed group of people because they can change the world. In fact, it's only by that the world was changed. You think about Médecins Without Borders, the Physicians Without Borders, what they did. So in the journey of a social entrepreneurs, you have to be very resilient because social entrepreneur, as Bill Drayton says as well, is a recruiter. We recruited at Data 1,600 volunteers. And why we did that? We did that because people, they understand that we are telling the truth. You are walking your path. You say and you do. So you recruit people and you prove the life of the people can change. That poverty, there's poverty all over the world. We are living in Brazil a not declared civil war because they are the rich people that doesn't give a lot of money and the poor, and we are living a civil war. But you know, we know how to deal with poverty. It took us a lot of years to understand that poverty is a multi-dimension. That was one of the main understanding, because in the beginning of the 90s, it was a focus, habitat for humanity, everybody for education. But we, dealing with the people we serve, we understood they have to work in many areas in a very integrated way if you really want to change people's lives.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the power of being mad, right? And not being deterred by people who say, you're mad, Jack. Yes, I'm proudly mad, right? You know, very important. I think it's something that is actually something that comes across very often, right? Especially when you're at the beginning of the career, perhaps. Why is it that you're doing this, right? Why? Does it make sense? Yeah, it's true. So important. So we're getting close to the end of our session. So can I ask you, please, to share what is it that you dream for your book in 3 to 5 words? You've written a book. It's linked to creating a big impact. What are your dreams for that book? Mel, I see you unmute. You have 3 to 5 words.
I don't know if I can do it in 5, but everybody buys it. Everybody's inspired, and we change the world. That's not 5, but
that's good. I love
not
it.
bad.
We don't follow rules anyway in this room.
Of course not.
Wonderful. Go, okay, Zach, you're up.
I'm making this book a school textbook so that every school in Singapore will be using it to teach their children about gumption. And hopefully after it becomes a national textbook in Singapore, it can be a textbook in every other country.
Wonderful. That's amazing. Really, really smart. Like making it for youth who are going to be open, right? We were mentioning to those news stories. Vera, what is your big
I
dream?
read it because my English is not so good like Mel and Jack, but I read it. If I have to summarize my book, I will say a good poem that says that anything you can do or dream about, you can start. Courage contains within itself power, genius, and magic.
Wow.
Thank you.
Beautiful poem, magic and genius. How beautiful. So I think, I don't know how you are all feeling, but I'm feeling deeply inspired, moved actually by our conversation today. So I hope that you've been enjoying hearing the stories of our speakers, who I want to really thank for their contribution today. You can see the books cover, their book covers on the screen. There are the links in the chat. They're going to be sent to you via email, so you can get your hands And to them, I also invite you to watch the movies made after the work of Mel and Jacques on their respective networks. Soon to come, the movies made up after Vera's work, I'm certain. It's been a pleasure for me to be hosting this conversation. I think we've heard the powerful stories of those very social entrepreneurs that we had with us in this room, and see how they've profoundly impacted their communities in the world. I hope that by learning from their journeys that you felt inspired and empowered to write your own story of change, whether it's through the pages of book or in the everyday actions that you take to transform the world around you. Indeed, like we were mentioning earlier, and like we all feel, the world needs more of us to step up and chart a new path forward. So please do not feel deterred, do not get sad or stop by hearing you're being mad. Keep resilient and keep writing your story and sharing it with the world. Thank you so very much for joining us today. And please do follow up and get your hands on these books of these social entrepreneur. Mel, Jacques, Vera, thank you so much for this conversation and for all the work that you do and that you've been doing. And you're going to keep on doing, like Jacques righteously mentioned. Thank you so much for your contribution to the world.
Thank you, Valeria.
Thank you, Valeria, for just a close with the last words from Catalyst. We would like to, and thank you, Valeria, for your moderation, and thank you, Mel, Jack, and Vera for your valuable experiences and your really powerful and inspiring insights. So we would like to get your feedback on the session for a minute. If you can take a minute or two by replying these questions. And while you're doing that, I want to mention an upcoming session. It's actually the last learning session of the year at Catalyst. It's part of the System Change Learning Series, and it's going to be on the Foundation of Impact, Theory of Change and Logic Models on 11th December. So you can also find the registration link on the chat. And if you like, you can go and explore our platform called Social Change Innovators for finding different resources and learning materials for social innovators. And again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you to our amazing speakers, and thank you, Valeria, for your moderation. And as we always do at Catalyst, let's close this session by saying goodbye in our native languages.
Goodbye.
Merci, au revoir.
Bye.
Cảm ơn.
Nandri.
Thank you all.
Hambaniga,